Welcome back, artists. I'm Wyatt Paints, and it's been a while since my last video. I could bore you with the trials and tribulations that life threw my way, but you're not here for that. You're here for some art, and I aim to give it to you. This week, I'm taking another trip down memory lane as I printed and painted a Paint Toon gun and bullets from the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. With its cartoon style and large details, this is going to be a fun and easy project. With that said, I'm going to stop wasting time with all the jibber jabber. Meet me over at the painting table. I'm going to grab my brushes. Let's get started. Getting started with the raw parts, I definitely have some issues to contend with. The most obvious is the seam on the frame, and a weird support mishap on the hammer. Nothing some judicious sanding and milling can't handle. One thing I won't be addressing with sanding are the visible polygons on the bullets. I usually tend to see these on models that were upscaled or overly simplified. While I could sand these down, all those details would take a long time to sand around and would have delayed this video even more. So, with a solid plan, I headed to my art room to sand baby sand. Through the magic of editing, I'm back from sanding and priming my parts. Sorry, I didn't film it. If you truly miss it, feel free to leave a strongly worded but tasteful comment below. Beyond that, after a prime, the polygons on the bullet were still visible, but far less distracting. And the faces, which are the main focal point, look good, so they should be fine. While fixing the seam on the frame required me to fit in the grips, but the seam was pretty much non-existent, with only a little nubbly here to clue anyone in on the fix. Meanwhile, with the cylinder, the prime coat made me aware of the low poly count. But again, sorta like the bullets, this shouldn't really distract from the final prop. To actually begin painting, I chose to start with the frame, as knocking out a large portion up front really tends to energize me and get me motivated to power through the project. To get me going, I'm starting with an old favorite, black metal. And from how light my bottle is, I'll probably need to get some more pretty soon. Now with such a large area to cover, going with a large brush is an easy choice. Just a bit of thinning and a light hand will ensure an even coat. 2 super thin passes will get the frame and other major details prepped and ready for a second step. Next up, the most obvious color choice for the frame, gunmetal. For this, since it's going to sit on top, I'm treating it like a heavy edge highlight while keeping the strokes aligned with each other to give sort of a grain to the metal. When it came to the cylinder, I felt a bit more of a heavy-handed approach would work to push more of the contrast jump from the darker fluting. It did get a bit messy, but it still fit the look. Now moving on to the grips, I did have a slight print error that I tried sanding out, but since I hollowed this with super thin walls to save resin, I didn't want to risk sanding through the part. That said, it shouldn't be too noticeable, but to paint them, I need a nice rugged brown, and Bootstrap is as rugged as it gets. Just like with the metal before, I'm looking for a nice smooth application over a large area, so a bit of a floofy brush is perfect. I just downsized it so I can have a bit more control. Though I did need to switch to a more traditional brush to handle the sides. No point risking mucking up my earlier work. Once that was dry, it was looking pretty bland. Unfortunately, the sculptor did not see fit to add any details onto the grips, but a bit of plain old black paint can help here by first hitting the raised edge. Using the side of the brush lets me get a nice thin line here. The trick to this is to keep the brush at a 45-degree angle to the edge and use very light pressure. The more pressure you use, the thicker the line you'll get. So it's best to start as light as you can, then you can go back over it and try to even it out. But don't stress too much over getting it perfectly even. Having a bit of roughness on this outline will lend to a bit of a hand-drawn look. Then, with the help of my card box here, yeah, I play Munchkin. It's a great game. I laid down some parallel lines to add some detail to the grips. I treated this like I was putting fancy grill marks on a steak, which you really shouldn't do to a nice steak. Anyways, once I got 4 lines down, I gave it a few minutes to dry and put an opposing set of lines intersecting at about a 60-degree angle. This doesn't need to be exact, so no need to pull out the protractor. Just eyeball it and you should be fine. Once the first side was dry, I just needed to flip it over and repeat for the other. With the grips dialed up, it's time to take a look at those bullets. While they all have slightly different details, those all sit on pretty much the same bullet form, so it only made sense for me to batch paint them all. I started this by giving all the faces a quick overbrush of gunmetal. While I could have used something like lead belcher, I wanted the faces brighter to give them a bit more readability under the shade of the hats. And no need to waste your time trying to paint clean here. Just slap it down thin and quick. Next, I want to add a bit of soft shading to the faces as they were looking a little too clean for my taste. So I quickly lined all of the details with a touch of Nolan oil. I will be adding some black lining later, so this may not be completely necessary, but it felt right at the time. Besides, if I don't like the outcome, I can very simply reset it back to gunmetal with another quick overbrush. Next up, the casing's got the same overbrush treatment using weapon bronze. While I could have used a more traditional brass color, I just think it looks a little pale to serve as a bullet casing. Bronze has a bit more color that reads more bullet-like to my eye, but feel free to experiment. I could even see a copper working well for this too, but to me, it kinda has the opposite problem of having too much color and looking a bit reddish. Bronze just threads the needle. Time to focus in on the open mouths by first blacking out the background, and there really isn't a worry about getting this on the teeth and tongue. Just focus on staying within the confines of the mouth and it should be easy enough. Next, skeletal bone dropped onto my palette to take care of the exposed teeth. Again, the only control I need to worry about is not overspilling outside of the teeth, so pretty much a paint by number section. And I didn't even stress about keeping the tooth separation here, as I knew I would be coming back to black line everything, and that would clean up any of the overspill. Finally, a bit of dragon red handled a couple of tongues that were sticking out. Next, I moved on to the eyes with some fiendish yellow. In the movie, their eyes were a very sickly yellow, almost puke color, which was always a bit off-putting for me as a child. So I want them a bit brighter for my piece. Having this deep yellow here will be plenty dark without being gross. If I fill in a pupil here and there, I didn't really worry about it, as I can just dot them in when I blackline. After that, I went back to Bootstrap to pick out all the bits that I wanted brown, like the zigzag pattern and all the bandoliers and belts. Now that I think about it, it's kind of wild that the bullets are carrying around a bunch of smaller bullets on them. Like, are they carrying small guns to fire in them? Are the tiny bullets sentient as well? And what about the bullets that don't have bullets? Are they essentially fired into combat unarmed? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Ultimately, it led me to one conclusion. Don't do drugs, kids. You could end up a middle-aged adult that spends Friday nights painting props from a 40-year-old movie, pontificating about the oversaturation of America's love of guns injected into classic childhood entertainment. Trust me when I say, that's a sad life. Anyways, after I pulled myself off the floor, I moved on to some dark gray and handled the long hair of this surly-looking bullet. Then, I took care of the beard on the Confederate bullet named Choose Tobacco. Yep, that's his name. In fact, they all have names. I'll be sure to share those at the end of the video. Since I finished one beard, I might as well take care of the other, this time using ash gray. This gray is going to be light enough to read as white without having to deal with all the pain in the butt painting white is. Double win. I just got to keep all that nice bronze and gunmetal free of any overspill. By the time I finished, Choose Tobacco was dry enough for me to go back and fill in his army issue cap with Night Sky. It's a perfectly dark and desaturated blue that fits that Confederate tone. Next, I grabbed Chaotic Red to tackle most of the scarves in the group. Overall, this helps them feel like a set that belongs together. But this is a bit of a detour from being screen accurate, as they all wore more of an orange necktie. But I really don't like orange, and I wanted a darker color to contrast with the brass a bit more. Additionally, I held off on using it on every scarf. For the older bullet, I gave him a darker gray scarf to maybe signify him being a leader of the dum-dums. Then I switched back to gunmetal to block in all the belt buckles, as it seemed a mighty fine time to take care of it. As for the hats, Skeletal Bones subbed back in to take care of 3 of them, while the Native American bullet got matte black, and the one that looks like Boss Hoss got a nice creamy gray matter beige. But since these are going over black, they're going to take 3 to 4 coats to get solid coverage. But doing the assembly line worked out perfect here, as by the time I was done doing the first pass with the last hat, the first hat was nearly dry enough for the next coat. Working smarter, baby. Now it's time for slow and careful painting to do the black lining. To make this a bit easier, I switched to a brush you may not see often, the liner brush. With a very long and narrow belly, it makes this job a lot easier. The trick is to first pinpoint the crease I want to blackline with the tip of the brush and slowly drag the brush towards me using very light pressure. Doing this should keep the bristles locked in the crease all on its own. But just like before doing the edge highlighting, the pressure used will determine the width of the line, but it'll max out at the width of the brush. So using the smallest one I have gives me a bit of extra insurance. This, more than any other part, is a great place to put on a YouTube playlist and just get in the zone. Personally, I recommend my painting playlist. Clocking in at almost 100, it'll help pass the time. But it's not just good for painting. I've been told having my playlist running in the bedroom promotes a deeper sleep during rest. And there's evidence that my soothing voice can result in longer and more satisfying lovemaking. Facts are facts. Finally, it was time for a cleanup step by going back to all my colors I used to thin and smooth out all of the black lining for a finer, more polished look. Thankfully, because of the Toon style, all of these colors were nice and flat, so it was pretty trivial using the tip of that fine liner brush. For the last detail to address, I wanted this to be a lit cigar, so I based the tip in bright yellow. It doesn't need to be perfect coverage, just mostly coverage. Then stack on some dragon red, leaving a nice ring of yellow at the base. Follow that with a heavy stipple of black on the tip, again preserving a ring of red towards the base. Finally, a light stippling of ash gray to finish it off. I was about to call it done, but I felt those eyes could just use a little bit more brightness. So I took the bright yellow and went back over all of the eyes to give them a little bit more pop. Since they're all small, it only took a few strokes each before I called this project done. And I can't do it. And I can't do the Roger Rabbit pleat. Imagine the Roger Rabbit. And please, artists, these came out great. While the lack of sculpted details on the gun and the large polygons on the bullets are a bit of a downer, this will still look good on my shelf. And good news is, you can get your hands on this STL for free using the link below. But I would strongly suggest that you print the gun from PLA and not resin like I did, as it uses quite a bit, even hollowed out. Despite the shortcomings of the STL, this is still a fun project to scratch that nostalgic edge. Before I wrap this up, I'd like to give a special shout out to all my wonderful subscribers over on Patreon. Your support means the world to me, even more so in the belt-tightening months of the holidays. These mythic pillars of the painting community make fun projects like this possible, even when I don't have a sponsor, so I can't thank you enough. If you would like to join the Painting Pantheon, you'll find a link to it below. Also, one more shout out to Talon over on Instagram. Not only are they a fan of the channel, but they reached out and purchased my pot of gold that I painted last year. It's always nice to sell a piece, so I hope you enjoy it. With that said, I have several more projects that I need to get done to be able to ship them out to my clients on time for Christmas, so this will have to be goodbye. But as always, thanks for watching, stay creative, and always enjoy the process.